Today, we have our final meta snapshot here for us as we move into the new set, March of Machines. Very excited about that here as we close out Phyrexia, All Will Be One in Magic the Gathering. Now, today, I will break down each of the formats, best of one and best of three. That is available to you down below in the timestamps for our Friday Night Meta weekly series episode here on the channel. If you happen to have a question or comment throughout today, let me know. I'd love to hear from you, or come swing by the Discord server and come say hi. Not or, and, absolutely. Now, with that, thank you for tuning in. As always, let's get moving here as we take a look at this last snapshot here of Phyrexia, All Will Be One. All right, so here's what we got going on in Standard as we kind of close things out. Azora Soldier still maintains the top lead spot. We got Mono Red Burn, Mono Red Aggro, Mono Black Control, Selesnya Toxic, Mono White Control, Mono Blue Tempo, and Azora's Control. As we move over here, we see the top three decks in terms of popularity, certainly being the key portion there that we find within this meta of today. Now, as we scroll down over time, we see that release of All Will Be One, and we see exactly how things have unfolded in terms of popularity as well as win rate. So again, soldiers were strong out of the gate. Something to think about there as we move into the next format. That tends to be fairly typical. So I wanted to break that down for you in a good tip to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and look at the more competitive space. We do see Azora Soldiers at the top, Grixis mid-range being in there, something that we haven't seen at that grander, broader meta space. And then Esper Control also breaking into there. So those are a couple things to pay attention to in terms of what's happening, and in terms of keeping eyes and ears out for what you're seeing in Magic the Gathering here. All right, so let's go all the way back. So that closes out our best of one. Let's look at best of three. Best of three, we do got Esper midrange, Rakdos midrange, Mono Red Aggro, Mono Black Aggro, Grixis midrange, Selesnya Toxic, Mono White midrange, and Judd midrange. If you happen to catch the episodes this week, there was a new combo there, 4-color combo. Rada Blade, pretty interesting. You can check that out here on the channel. Certainly made an impact at DreamHack. Very, very nice, and something interesting to see here. But as we break these things down, Grixis midrange, Rakdos midrange, Mono midrange, Esper midrange, all being key decks. Mostly mid-range is dominating the Standard best of three. Now, as we come down here, again, we see a lot of similarities. We see some of those changes there, that Esper mid-range doing very well in that win rate over time here in terms of what's happening with this meta and what is absolutely being played. Very, very important to keep those things out. An eye out for those. All right, so now we'll go to Mythic. Mythic best of three here, primarily being driven by Rakdos midrange, Grixis midrange. Now we're about halfway through the month. So again, more information always as more players do move down to that space. All right. Alchemy it is. Alchemy, here's what we got going on. Rakdos Sacrifice, Mono Red Aggro, Mono Black Control, Grixis midrange, and a host of other things there. And then on the right, again, popularity definitely dominated by Mono Red Aggro. And that continues to be true and seen here even after post rebalance. We do see some of these other decks moving in and making changes. And then again, we do see that Rakdos Sacrifice starting to creep in there in terms of that win rate. Let's go ahead and look at the competitive scene here. What we got going on, Mono Red Aggro, Mono Red Aggro. Boom, done. Call it a day. All right, let's go over to best of three. Best of three, we got Grixis at 71% wins. We have it at 40% of the meta. That about sums things up for Alchemy best of three. All right, Historic. What do we have going on in Historic? Here we go. Mono Red Aggro back at the top of the list for best of one. There you go. Rakdos midrange, Mono Green Elves, Is It Wizards, Azora's Control, Boros Hammer, Dimmer Mill, 5-color Reanimator. On the right here, we do have Mono Red Aggro being the least played, but definitely at the highest win rate. So something to pay attention to as things continue to evolve. Popularity over time. Again, Shadows over Innistrad remastered. We can see that Is It Wizards certainly played a ton. Mono Green Elves certainly played a ton, but definitely dropping in terms of what we've seen. Now, again, here we have what's happening. We see Rakdos midrange popping up. We got a new star of the month, and we do see that Mono Red Aggro starting to pop in there and breaking into that space in terms of the win rate. Let's see if we got something new here at the Mythic side. Mythic is Rakdos midrange, Is It Wizards. Big things again, popular decks to keep an eye on there as things evolve. All right, best of three. Best of three, we got 5-color Reanimator, Rakdos midrange, Rakdos Goblins, Mono Green Devotion, Is It Wizards, Jund midrange, and the others here. Rakdos midrange, Jund midrange, Is It Wizards, 5-color Reanimator. top 3 really dominating. Now here again, we see a pretty big change in terms of Innistrad popping in there, but we do get the recovery of Rakdos midrange in terms of the popularity, and Jund popping in there. And then also here we go in terms of our win rates, that 5-color Reanimator doing very, very well against a lot of the other decks. All right, now when we move to Mythic here we got Rakdos midrange and Rakdos midrange. All right. That moves us into the last best of 1 and best of 3 here for Explorer. Not a lot of information, unfortunately, but I think a lot of players playing as they were trying to qualify for a lot of the stuff. Again, that's Mythic, but let's go ahead and let's go all the way out. Here we got a better picture as we look at the full meta. Zora's Control, Boros Heroic, Celestia Angels, Mono White Humans, Abzan, Mono Red, Burn, Mono Green Devotion, Mono Red Aggro. On the right, Celestia Angels, Abzan Greasefang, Mono Green Devotion. We see a lot of these things trending down, similar to what we saw. But again, Mono Green Devotion starting to pop back in there. Greasefang, Celestia Angels. And then here on the right, we do see Zora's Control popping up and moving very well, even with Boros Heroic. All right, that is at the aggro. We did look at the best of 3, or sorry, the more drill down again, as we said, not best of 3. We will now move to Explorer best of 3. All right, here we go. To close it out, Rakdos midrange, Mono Green Devotion, Abzan Greasefang, Mono White Humans, 5-color Fires, Cruel Vehicles, Zora's Control, and 5-color Creativity. Rakdos midrange, Zora's Control, Abzan Greasefang being key decks. Here we do see a little bit of a shift month over month and season over season. We do see that Abzan Greasefang falling. We see Rakdos midrange maintaining. We start to see that Zora's Control popping up, as well as 5-color Fires. Now we start to see a lot of compression here in terms of win rates. Again, as the meta gets a little bit tighter in terms of what we're seeing, Rakdos midrange popping up there at the last minute in terms of what we're seeing on that trending win rates there for these lists. And again, very close nonetheless. Let's go ahead and look at Mythic. Here we go at Mythic. 5-color Transmogrify, Zora's Control, Rakdos midrange, Abzan Greasefang. Again, here's what we got going on. Now, like I said, lots of players playing Explorer with what was going on in some of the tournaments and those things here on Arena. Let's go ahead and take a look at Historic Brawl to close it all out. Atraxa at the top, followed by Rusko, Geist of Saint Traft in there. First sliver, Tamio, Goshen, Tai, Azika, and Brawl. Brawl not doing super good there. As we go down here, let's take a look at Atraxa, and then again, Tamio popping up in terms of that popularity. We do see Atraxa still dominating. We see Rusko popping back up. We see First Sliver falling down a little bit, and then certainly Tamio making a nice run, and some of the other stuff also creeping up, which is good to see. So that is Historic Brawl. Let's pull everything back here. I am extraordinarily excited for the new set, March of Machines, to come out here. Looking forward to that and producing a lot more content for you here on the channel, as we always do. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly series here, Friday Night Meta, one of my favorite things as we break down the list, give you the best tips and tricks, and get an insight into what's performing well, what's not performing well, to keep you on top of your game. So thank you for tuning in. As always, appreciate the likes and the subs as we grow this community. Thank you so much, and thank you to the members. Now, with that, to close this out, if you have questions, comments, do let me know. I love to hear that. I love to hear your feedback. On top of that, feel free to come say hi in the Discord server. With that, stay tuned, as we got a ton more Magic the Gathering content headed your way. The weekly series will stay here as we get new breakdowns and new information. And last but not least, a ton more Magic the Gathering content headed your way. Take care.